The advancing state of modern warfare in the late 18th century began to produce great numbers of injuries and casualties, emphasizing the need for more efficient caregiving to wounded soldiers on the battlefield. In 1792, Baron Dominique Jean Larrey, a French doctor who would later serve as surgeon-in-chief to Napoleon's Imperial Guard, first implemented what would become known as the triage system to prioritize treatment according to the seriousness of injuries. Soldiers were filtered into three groups: dangerously wounded, less dangerously wounded, and slightly wounded, with the first category being prioritized. Not only did Larrey's methods save soldiers' lives, but they also boosted troop morale. His strict triage rules, based on severity of condition and likelihood of recovery, ignored rank and nationality. And we'll see later in the podcast how the triage system impacted Larrey, saving his life in an unexpected manner. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome to Construction Genius. In a time of war or crisis where resources are limited and time is of an essence, it's important for medical facilities to prioritize who they treat. That's the whole idea of triage. In the same way, you have limited time and resources, and so you must learn to look at the issues you face in your construction business and the array of possible initiatives that you could undertake and figure out what's most important right now. In other words, to identify your top priority. In this episode of Construction Genius, I'll teach you a step-by-step method for identifying your most important priority and building a simple, actionable plan for executing that priority. This is the fourth and final episode of our four-part series on the Triangle one-page planning process. The first three parts, purpose, personality, and plan, are covered in episodes 77, 79, and 81. Check them out to come up to speed if you've missed those. The Triangle one-page planning process is like a compass, a simple and effective tool that you can use to aim and move your company in the right direction. In today's episode about priority, we are going to cover three things. The first one is what is a priority and why prioritization is important. Second thing is how to identify and clarify your priorities. And then the third thing is priority structure, or how to build an action plan around your priority. So first, let's talk about what is a priority and why is prioritization important. What does it achieve? So, a priority is pretty simple, right? It's a thing that is regarded as more important. Your top priority answers the question, what's most important right now? What must we achieve in the next period of time to be able to say that we accomplished our top priority? And this is a very important way of framing your top priority, is asking that question, what is most important right now? And when we say right now, your priority should focus on 30, 60, or 90 days. And my personal favorite is a 90-day priority. It's a real sweet spot. It gives you enough time to get some real work done. It doesn't rush you too much to achieve something in a short period of time so that you then get discouraged because you don't really get done what you need to get done. And your priorities are balanced with your overall strategic plan. A strategic plan may last from 1 to 3 years, but again, your priority should be based on a 30, 60, or 90-day cycle. Now, why is prioritization important? It has to do with your resources and with human nature. You have limited resources in terms of time, money, and the energy of your people. Because you have limited resources, you must focus. That's the whole idea of the triage in a medical environment. You have to prioritize who you treat. In the same way, you don't have unlimited time, finances, and energy. Those three things must be marshaled and focused on what's most important right now. Human beings thrive when they can concentrate. They accomplish much when there is the elimination of multitasking and a focus on what's most important and then pursuing that. We do not do well in multitasking. In fact, a study at the University of London found that participants who multitasked during cognitive tasks experienced IQ score declines that were similar to what they'd expect if they'd smoked a joint. Now, if you want to perform at that kind of level in your business, then continue to multitask. And you can think about that in terms of your individual performance, but also in terms of the performance of your company overall. Companies who focus are much more effective. When you're picking a priority, you are saying no to one direction and you are saying yes to another direction. And as we've been talking about through this planning process, the choices you make in your business define the success of your business. Life is all about the quality of the choices you make and the excellence of your execution. You can't do everything, and you shouldn't attempt to do everything. You should spend time figuring out what's most important right now and then executing on that. Companies that are very good at identifying their priorities, there's a real sense of unity in their organizations, and that's why prioritization is important. The best leaders are able to rally their troops around a specific outcome and focus them on that. It brings a sense of accomplishment into an organization. It provides momentum. It gives you opportunity to hold people accountable for their execution. And the great thing about picking a priority and going after it is then you get feedback. You act and you see what happens. As a result of your action, you may have to then adjust your priority or adjust your plan associated with your priority. But without that focus, it's very difficult to be able to figure out whether or not what you're doing is right or making progress. So it's extremely important in your business that you identify those priorities and you make prioritization a top focus in your company. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is how to identify and clarify your priorities. And the way you do that is through a combination of numbers and conversations. So let's talk about your construction business. You have three main areas of your business. You bid work, you build work, and then you bill the work. And each one of those three areas has metrics or numbers associated with that. Numbers tell part of the story and they direct you to where you need to have your conversations. And then those conversations help you to flesh out the numbers. The numbers are the skeleton. The conversations provide the flesh and the blood that make up the whole person. And so it's very important that you're able, as a leader in your construction company, to gather your team together and through numbers and conversations, identify what's most important right now, and then go to work on executing on what's most important. So we've talked about what is a priority and why prioritization is important. We've talked about how to identify and clarify your priorities through numbers and conversations. And now we're going to talk about priority structure, or how to build an action plan around your priority. This is very, very important because the power of a one-page plan that sums up deep things in your business, your purpose and your personality, and summarizes what your strategic plan is in a manner that people can understand, and then is completed with a statement of priority, gives an organization tremendous momentum and progress. So let's talk about priority structure. After you've identified what's most important right now, you have to build an action plan around that priority. And an action plan has three parts to it: the rally cry, the areas of fierce focus, and then the critical numbers. What is a rally cry? Well, right now we're going through the COVID-19 crisis. One of the rally cries, the response to COVID-19, here in the United States at least, has been flatten the curve, right? The idea there is to reduce the number of hospitalizations through isolation and through testing and tracing and all that kind of stuff so that the hospital system is not overwhelmed. Flatten the curve. Now, the rally cry gets changed every now and then, right? But that's one that you can remember, okay? What's Nike's rally cry? Well, their rally cry when they first started their business, it was crush Adidas. When the Allies invaded Normandy in 1944, their rally cry was beat Germany. I was working with one of my clients many years ago. We were going through this triangle one-page planning process. We'd identified their purpose, their personality, and their plan. It was crystal clear. And then it was time to get onto their priority. What's most important right now? And after discussing it with the senior leadership team, they could see the numbers, they had the conversations, and you know what they came up with? Their rally cry: kill bad jobs. They had 3 jobs on the books that had been dragging on a little bit. They were not money makers, and they had to get those jobs completed. Now, why is a rally cry important? A rally cry is important because it gives you clarity, it gives you focus, and it gives you motivation. And when you craft your rally cry, it should be short, a phrase, not a sentence, not a paragraph, but short. It should be punchy. It should be clear. It should be directionally correct. If it's sexy and motivating, that's great. But if it's not, that's okay. As long as everybody understands what the rally cry means, and as long as you build a plan identifying how you're going to achieve that rally cry and who's accountable for that achievement. So when you're looking to build a plan around your top priority, who should be involved? It should be the leadership team. And if you remember that old Australian group, they came up with that song, The Land Down Under, the Men Without Hats. Well, when you're having a meeting of your leadership team, figuring out what the top priority for your organization is, everybody has to take off their departmental hat, right? Have the estimating team take off their estimating hat, and the project team take off their project hat, and the accounting team take off their accounting hat, and have them as a senior leadership team show up with a sense of maturity and understanding about the business. Not everything can be a priority, and perhaps for a period of time, their department won't be a priority. They have to be men without hats, right? Focused simply on the success of the organization, regardless of how that might impact their particular part of the business. Let me give you an example from World War II. Obviously, during the Normandy invasions, the priority of the United States and Britain was focused on northern France. Now, there was fighting going on all over the globe, including a place like Burma down in the Indian subcontinent. And there was a general there, Bill Slim. I've done a couple of episodes on his leadership style. And he was one of the best battlefield generals. But one of the things that really set him apart was that he didn't have this huge ego. He understood that his area of focus, his field of campaign, the area of Burma was not the priority for the Allies. And so resources were taken from him that actually hurt his ability to fight in his particular region, but he knew that the top priority was in northern France, not in the Indian subcontinent. And he understood that from a strategic point of view, his area of endeavor would suffer, but he was willing for that in light of the overall big picture and the top priority of the Allies of defeating Germany in Europe. So once you've got that rally cry, then you need areas of fierce focus. And what do I mean by those areas of fierce focus? And by the way, you can download a blank template of this one-page plan from the show notes. Just click on the link there and you can get it. And you'll see how this is all laid out. On your one-page plan, when it comes to the priority part, you're going to have your rally cry at the top. And then underneath that, you're going to have your areas of fierce focus. Things that you need to do in order to achieve the rally cry. And you should have 3 to 5 areas of fierce focus that are going to drive the achievement. They're going to be coordinated together to help you to achieve the rally cry and achieve your top priority. And in my experience, using this process with my clients over the years, 3 to 5 areas of fierce focus are best for the achieving of a rally cry. And again, what is the purpose of those areas of fierce focus? It is to give accountability. It is, again, to give them focus. And as far as the accountability is concerned, you want to assign one person to each area of fierce focus and assign it high enough up the chain of command in your business so you can get stuff done, but not too high so that one person gets overwhelmed. And when it comes to accountability to those areas of fierce focus, there should be one person to report on how that area of fierce focus is being executed on a weekly basis. So let me give you an example here. Again, from my client, the rally cry was kill bad jobs. The areas of fierce focus, they had 3 of them. The first one was to identify scope. Second one was estimate cost to complete. And the third area of fierce focus was production planning. So all 3 of those were coordinating together in order to achieve the rally cry, their top priority of kill bad jobs. Okay? So once you've got your rally cry and your fierce focus, you then move on to your critical numbers. And critical numbers are linked to each area of fierce focus. The fierce focus drives the achieving of the rally cry, and the critical numbers tell you whether or not you are achieving what you need to achieve in those areas of fierce focus. And there can be a number of different critical numbers. There can be dates. That a critical number can be a date. For instance, we're going to achieve this area of fierce focus by this time. Or it can be a metric. So there's different types of metrics, obviously, and you should have a scoreboard or a dashboard of metrics that are pertinent to your business. But there's leading and lagging indicators or metrics. Leading indicators give you a chance to correct a problem before it kills the lagging indicator. Leading indicators allow you to be proactive. Lagging indicators, by their very nature, they force you to be reactive. So let's look at that in just a little bit more detail. Again, you need a really good metric to help you to understand how well you're doing in your area of fierce focus so that you can achieve your rally cry. Okay, so for instance, safety, a leading metric is safety training. If you say we want to improve safety as a rally cry, and we're going to do some safety training as a result of that, and then perhaps you're going to do 6 safety trainings in the next 12 months. That's a leading indicator of whether or not you're focused on safety. Lagging indicators for safety are things like injury frequency, lost work days, OSHA recordable injuries, and your XMOD or your experience modification rate. All of those things are lagging indicators that tell you how well you're executing on safety. In terms of sales, for instance, a leading indicator is hit rate, right? How many projects are you landing? A lagging indicator is gross margin. Right? We can land a bunch of projects, but if they're not the right projects or we're not executing them well or if we don't have enough margin in them, then the gross margin, the lagging indicator, is going to tell us that. And once you've identified the metric that is going to be linked to the area of fierce focus, you should have, again, one person responsible for that area of fierce focus in terms of accountability, and that person should be able to report on that metric on a regular basis. And in terms of that accountability, beware that you don't overburden your heroes, right? We all have heroes in our organization, the folks who want to take on more and more work, and they're pretty good at it, but at a certain point, you overcapacitate them, and their effectiveness begins to diminish. And then other people spend all their time looking at the heroes and saying, yeah, just give that person work, she or he can take care of it, I don't have to do my job. No. Make sure that the right person is assigned accountability for each area of fierce focus, and then you have the right number associated with each area of fierce focus so that you can track how well you're doing in terms of achieving that rally cry, your top priority. So let me give you an example here in terms of the kill bad jobs rally cry. Okay, so we got the rally cry of kill bad jobs. The fierce focus is number 1, identify scope. Number 2, estimate cost to complete. And number 3, production planning. Okay, those are the areas of fierce focus. Now, for this particular rally cry and this priority, the critical numbers were all dates. So they were going to identify the scope by September 30th. We were having this meeting in late August. They were going to do the cost to complete by October 14th, and they were going to do the production planning. They were going to get a draft of that by October 14th as well. Each area of fierce focus was assigned to an individual, and it had a critical number, in this case a date, assigned to each area of fierce focus so they could drive forward on achieving the rally cry of kill bad jobs, which they did achieve by the end of that year. When we talk about prioritization, sometimes what you can be thinking is, well, it's really tough to prioritize because we have stuff to do across every aspect of our business. And that's true. There's always things to do. But what the best businesses do is they go back to that men without hats idea that I shared earlier. And the senior executive team is able to come above the battlefield and all the stuff that's going on in the various parts of their business and understand which part of the business needs particular attention. As a result of some of the challenges associated with COVID-19, one of my clients recently shifted resources from their project management department into their estimating department because their priority was to generate more sales in order to... Another issue that comes with this prioritization is leaders can't get into an agreement about what's most important right now. And if you're the owner or the CEO of your construction company, let me just speak to you personally. Your job as the leader is to make decisions. You can't make everyone happy all of the time. Some people may agree with your priority decision, what you select as what's most important right now. Others may disagree. But you do a disservice to all of your people and to your organization when you don't make a decision. The best leaders are able to make decisions and then adjust if that decision turns out to be incorrect. The best leaders are willing for other people not to be happy. And the best executive teams are willing to disagree and yet commit to what the leaders decide is what's most important. So let me encourage you as the leader in your construction company to make decisions. And those tough decisions where you're going to focus in on one particular thing as opposed to trying to do everything all at once. And make sure that you are designing a simple plan around that question, what is most important right now? Like I said earlier, in my opinion, 90-day plans are excellent. Make sure you have the rally cry at the top, the 3 to 5 areas of fierce focus that drive the achieving of the rally cry. Make sure those are coordinated as possible and that you have critical numbers that are telling you how well you're doing on executing those areas of fierce focus so that you achieve the rally cry. Back to this French doctor, Loray. He had very strong principles. He developed triage so that the wounded were treated in order of need, regardless of rank or nationality. And while this did not endear him to all generals or administrators, in the long run, it saved his life. After the Battle of Waterloo, he was wounded and captured by the Prussians. So he was a French doctor, and he was actually quite close to Napoleon. The Battle of Waterloo was the end of Napoleon's reign. And he was about to be shot. Loray was about to be shot when the medic tying the blindfold recognized him. In other words, the Prussian medic recognized this French doctor. And he was sent to the Prussian General von Blücher. My French and German pronunciation is absolutely magnificent. And Loray had actually saved Blücher's son's life after a previous battle. And von Blücher recognized him, and following dinner, Loray was released with money and a military escort. So his idea of triage, of treating the wounded regardless of rank or nationality, actually saved his life. Okay, let's talk about next steps for you. Number 1, I want to encourage you, listen to all 4 episodes of the Triangle one-page planning process. Then get with your team and at the tip of the spear, so to speak, identify your most pressing priority. What's most important right now? What do we need to get done in the next 90 days to be able to say with any credibility we had a good period of time, a good 90 days? Go to the show notes for this episode, download the one-page template. Use that as something that can direct you in terms of designing and then moving forward with your one-page plan and your priority. Okay? My name is Eric Anderton. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. And we would appreciate it if you could give us a review and a rating of the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. On Apple, for instance, I think we have 4.9 out of 5 stars, and we have over 50 ratings. Let's get that sucker up to 100 ratings. How does that sound? And put a review in there as well. I'd really, really appreciate that. And of course, like I always say, if you have questions about the content of this episode, reach out to me on my website. And particularly if you are the owner of a construction company or a senior executive in the executive suite, and you're having struggles or challenges with any of the things we've talked about, feel free to reach out to me on my website, ericanderton.com, or on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to book in 10 minutes with you and have a quick chat about some of your challenges and see if or how I may be able to help you. Thanks again for listening to Construction Genius. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity, and to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.